I'm Luca Giliberti, contributing writer at Gold Derby, joined today by Amy Forsyth, who had an amazing 2021, starring in two very different but highly acclaimed films, Sean Hayter's CODA and Lauren Hadaway's debut feature, The Novice. And I would actually like to start with The Novice and congratulate you on your Independent Spirit Award nomination for your performance in the film.
Thank you.
Yeah, what does this recognition from Film Independent mean to you?
It's such a special nomination. My passion is indie movies that I care about, and to be recognized from the indie world is just a dream. I've loved this project from the second I read the script and really fought to be a part of it. And, it was not an easy process by any means. So the fact that it's doing so well and that people are enjoying it is the best. And this nomination is just a sort of cherry on top.
Yeah, it's amazing. The film got 5 nominations, so that's quite an achievement. I was very happy to see it recognized. And to get into the film, when I spoke to your co-star Isabel Furman, who plays Alex Stahl in the film, a few months ago, she explained that she went beyond the call of duty when auditioning for this film. So I'm curious about what your auditioning process looked like.
Yeah, I heard about the movie through a friend of mine. My friend is friends with Lauren, and she told me about the project, and I was immediately interested. And then Lauren and I had coffee and it went well, so I thought, and I was so excited, and we talked for hours, and I just really loved her vision for it. And so then I waited and got an email asking me to put myself on tape for the producers, and I did. And then I didn't hear anything back for a long time, and I thought I had messed everything up. I thought I had done a terrible job. And then I found out through my friend that knows Lauren that the movie had pushed, and it actually had nothing to do with my audition. And in fact, they loved my audition. And so I followed up with Lauren a few times, just reiterating how passionate I was about the project and how special it seemed on the page. And eventually, when they got funding, she emailed me and offered me the job. So I was definitely persistent, but in a kind, professional way, but I definitely went after it.
And here we are. And
here we are.
And here we are.
Years later.
Absolutely.
Years later.
Definitely. But as Jamie Brill in the film, who joins the university's rowing team in need of a scholarship, you're playing someone who is both a novice in rowing and a lifelong multi-sport athlete. So how did this influence your physical preparation for the role?
It was tough because by the time we got funding and then we were sort of given the go ahead, it's tough to organize training. And I was actually working on CODA at the same time. I was working on CODA right before. So luckily we were shooting in Massachusetts, and Boston has a huge rowing community. So I was able to train in my days off from CODA. But it's funny, Jamie in The Novice says that she played basketball and volleyball in high school, and I did too.
Wow.
So, or in elementary school. And so it just fit perfectly. And the real focus was just on rowing and weight training. And I mean, we really didn't have that much time to train for it, but I trained as much as I could. Definitely was more comfortable in a 4 than in a single. They're extremely tippy. I thought I was going to ruin everything and fall into the water and have to reshoot everything. And I was just so thrilled to have a project that required so much of me and that I could totally throw myself into training. So did as much as I could, and then trusted that if we needed to, we would cut around it. But it was grueling, and I've fallen in love with rowing, and I haven't kept it up, but I would love to. I really miss it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And with an athlete's physicality comes an athlete's mind. So how did your physical preparation help you get into Jamie's mindset ultimately?
I think Jamie is she doesn't have a choice. She needs that scholarship. And I was emotionally not in a great place while we were filming. And when you're going through something personally, doesn't mean you can show up to work and not do your job. So it kind of felt like the same, like I was in a bit of a similar situation, and I didn't have a choice. And so I just had to, tuck my feelings away and throw myself into the work. And I think I unknowingly at the time, but the fact that I was going through something so challenging, put me in Jamie's shoes more than I could have ever planned or hoped. So yeah, just balls to the wall, diving in.
Absolutely. That's very interesting. And what's interesting about Jamie is that there's such a specific energy to her. She talks very fast. She's like constantly eating in order to replace all the calories she's burned. And she's really walking a tightrope in the film in a way that made me as a viewer quite nervous, but in a good way. So could you talk a little bit about Lauren's vision for this character and how you ultimately found and developed her essence?
Yeah, the eating thing came from Lauren and I loved it. I mean, it's funny because I trained as hard as I could and then I got there and Lauren was like, I think you should be in like super baggy clothing. And I was like, that's great because I wish I had more time to train. So I'm happy with that. But yeah, I think the clothing really helped. We were shooting with actual collegiate rowers and who ended up playing some of the other characters. And I think just being around them was extremely telling and helpful about, you know, what a collegiate athlete has to go through and how hard it is. And the eating portion, I loved it so much. It was so much fun. Although I did get a little bit sick of the peanut butter, but the bagel was the best day because I had not had carbs like that in a while and it tasted so good. But so much of Jamie, I feel, was just on the page, and it speaks to Lauren's ability to write effectively and pull from her own experience. So really, I owe a lot of it to Lauren and a lot of her firsthand experience as a rower in college. So
right. And in that regard, there's not a lot that we learn about Jamie's past other than that she was a high achiever in sports in high school. But what we do find out is that she doesn't want to go to skate school and that she doesn't want to live with her father. So even though it's not in the film, did you ever think about what her family life or specifically her relationship to her father was like? And if so, could you expand?
Yeah. I come from a divorced family situation and haven't always had the best relationship with my father. It's great now, but it took a long time. And so I think that for me, it was already sort of a personal experience that I related to quite easily. I think we don't realize until we get older and realize that we really need to heal our inner child, how much the tiniest thing can influence you as a kid. You're so vulnerable and you're so easily, at least I was, so easily wounded by something that an adult might not even remember that they say to you. So I think all of this stuff with Jamie's dad, I just sort of pulled from my own life and my own experiences. And it definitely shapes you when you are sort of missing that figure for a while. And I think that's part of what makes Jamie so externally tough and a fast talker and doesn't really show too many of her emotions and has that wall up. I think that just comes from her trauma. And I think that's what makes her work so hard. It's why she needs it. And I think it makes her who she is.
That's an interesting perspective. Thank you for sharing it.
Yeah.
And of course, we have to talk about the relationship between Jamie and Alex, who start out as friends, but have become frenemies, you could say, by the end of the film. So could you talk about what was important to you and Isabel when mapping out the beats of this very complicated, changing relationship?
Yeah, I mean, I knew Isabel long before. I had known her for years before we shot this. So the beginning was easy. Yeah, I've known her and loved her for a long time. So the friendship stuff was easy. And I think it all sort of just comes back to how hard Jamie has to work because she needs it. So I sort of felt like she sees Alex as her competition, but she's not focusing that much on Alex. She's focusing on herself. And then when she finds out that what Alex has done and that she sort of left out some important information about why she's doing what she's doing, that really changes Jamie. And I think because Jamie tries to protect herself so much from being hurt by other people in the way that she was by her father, that's game over for her. She can't allow people to do that to her. And then she's kind of done. And I think she really did have a soft spot for Alex, but had to keep her distance a little bit for her own, future. But yeah, again, it comes back to Lauren's script and by the end of it, when we were shooting that scene, the scene where I blow up at her and figure it all out, was my very last day of shooting. And
Oh,
I
wow.
was
Okay.
exhausted. And it just sort of came naturally to both of us. I think we were dead tired and cold and hadn't slept, and our bodies hurt. And it just was sort of a natural thing that was created by the difficulty of this movie, and it just made it that much better. And yeah, I absolutely loved that scene and loved working with Isabel and having those fun moments.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, I guess, convenient in a way that it was at the very end, because for
Yeah.
the reasons that you already mentioned, since so much is shot out of sequence. So that's interesting. And even though Alex says that Jamie didn't really earn her spot in the 1B, do you think that Jamie has some pity for Alex in that final confrontation, or has all sympathy for her completely waned at that point, you think?
I think she's human, and she knows that she is slightly responsible and feels a slight pang of guilt. But once Alex does what she does, which she's been doing the whole time and Jamie didn't know, I think that guilt is just completely pushed aside with the anger that Jamie feels for how she's sort of been taken advantage of and lied to. And so I think somewhere deep down, years down the road, she might admit that she was guilty, but I think in the moment she just sees red and she's just ready to cut things off and push her away.
Yeah, and it's absolutely understandable. And I have to say, the line I really loved is where she says, "In a team that you don't have to really like each other, but you do have to respect each other." And I think that that is really true. Not to put blame on anyone here, but that was
no, but it's true. It's true in every field, in every office, and every interaction in life.
Absolutely. And to briefly move over to CODA, in which you play a very different type of friend, the best friend to Amelia Jones' character, Ruby. This is a much more comedic, a much lighter part. So what did your preparation for this film look like? And how was it working with this wonderful ensemble cast?
It was amazing. It's truly one of the best experiences I've ever had on a set. I love them all so much, and it was such a gift to work with them. And I think so much of who Gertie is comes from being from Gloucester. And in the movie, Ferdy and I were sort of in the same position where we would come on for a few days and then we'd have a week off, and then we'd come on for, a week and then have a couple days off. And so I just really tried to embrace my surroundings, and I walked everywhere and just really tried to get to know the people in the area. And obviously working with the dialect coach was super fun to work on the accent. And I think that's so much of who she is, and her clothing, the way she expresses herself. So it all really came together through working with Sean and with wardrobe and hair and makeup, and just being in Massachusetts. It was such a dream. I'd never been, and I have absolutely fallen in love with Massachusetts. I want to go back.
Oh, yeah, that sounds very nice. And since you already mentioned wardrobe and dialect, do you find a character through wardrobe and dialect, or do you sort of have to find the character first before you can sort of allow the dialect and the wardrobe to come? Because there's some actors who do it that way, and then there are some who do it the other way. So I would be curious what your process looks like.
I think I definitely had instincts right off the bat when I was reading the script. There was a lot more that Gertie, there was a whole other sort of storyline that needed to be cut. It's not necessary in the film, but there was a lot more in the script for Gertie. And so I definitely had ideas going into it, but it really took sort of a combo of that preparation and getting to Massachusetts. Wardrobe is huge for me. Hair and makeup is huge for me. That I think find my physicality when I put on the clothes and figure out who she is. So wardrobe's kind of my way in.
Yeah, a lot of actors say that, so I'm always very interested.
And music.
Right, music. Definitely.
Music's a way in, which we were, gifted with.
Absolutely.
My pal Foot in, in the bedroom scene with Amelia. So lots of fun things that were little gifts for the actors to help prep.
Yeah, that's amazing. And to come back to what I said earlier, and before we get to 2022, 2021 really was a big year for you with these two films.
Mhm.
And bearing both of them in mind and both experiences, what would you say you learned on both professional and personal levels from working on these two films?
Um, well, I think professionally, a huge lesson that I think we all learned while working on CODA is just the importance of slowing down. I think working with, three incredible deaf actors and real life CODAs, when you're signing, you have to look at each other, and sets get so busy and you're running out of daylight, and I think we get so caught up in trying to make our days that sometimes we forget to slow down and really enjoy every single moment of what we're doing, because it's such a gift to be able to do what we do. And so professionally, CODA really reminded me to like look at the people you're working with, and there's so much to learn from them. And so it's reminded me to slow down on the days where things feel hectic and crazy. And personally, I think, CODA had its own challenges. I was on my own for the first time in a long time.
Mm.
And then going right after, like a week after, to go to Canada to shoot The Novice. It was such a whirlwind, and there was such whiplash that I was going through things personally that it's so easy, especially for me as an actor who is like very into their emotions and very open with them, to sometimes sort of let that get in the way. And I really learned personally sort of how to divide that. I mean, you have to, as an actor, bring that to your work with you. It's what allows us to do what we do, but to find the balance and to really rely on the people around you to lift you up when you're down and to do the same for others. And there was just the physicality of shooting The Novice was so grueling and so fun, but we really needed to rely on each other. So yeah, slowing down and then turning to others when you need it.
Yeah, those are great things to learn. And I think they're,
Mhm.
very important, aren't they? And on a final note, we're recording this on Monday, January 24th, which is also the premiere date of HBO's new historical drama series, The Gilded Age, in which you play a real life person, Caroline Astor Wilson. I know you can't
Mhm.
say much of anything about this or give anything away, but could you briefly explain who Wilson was and talk about the responsibility of portraying a real life figure?
Yes. So Carrie Astor is the daughter of Caroline Astor, who was sort of the god of the social scene at the time. And so we had lots of money and everybody wanted our approval and my mother's approval, but I say our. Um, it was so much fun to play a person that was a real person, but also that just had such a commanding presence. I think, all humans struggle with insecurities and feeling self-conscious sometimes. And it was really fun and rewarding to step into the shoes of somebody who is seemingly so confident. And it was just such an incredible set to be on. And the wardrobe is unbelievable, should be in a museum. It's just such a remarkable thing. And it's fun to play a real person because you can research and find things out about these people. So a lot of books, a lot of
Oh,
books, a lot of etiquette training, and obviously, corset always helps. So
as you said, right? Well,
wardrobe.
wardrobe, exactly. And
Yeah.
wardrobe is the perfect note to end on. The show looks absolutely amazing. I hope everyone checks it out. And I hope they also check out The Novice and CODA if they haven't already. And please subscribe to Gold Derby and keep up to date with us throughout this award season. Amy, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Luca.